If you are interested in traveling to Mexico, but you're not sure which beach town is right for you, we have you covered.
Yeah, we've been to every coastal region in Mexico over the past 8 years. We've been living here for 8 years full time. We've got it figured out.
Yeah, let's check them out. Hey guys, we're Paul and Natasha with Nomadic-AF. Today we are talking about how to find the best beach town for you. Mexico is super diverse and the beach regions are just as diverse. You can find party towns in the tropics with crystal clear Caribbean waters to surfing monster waves on the Pacific coast. You can find small towns, you can find big towns, endless deserts. There's a vibe for everyone.
The problem is, you've got to find your vibe, because there's nothing worse than showing up somewhere for 2 weeks to find out this was not the vacation you were looking for.
This has happened to us.
It's happened. It just recently happened to us in Mazatlan. So let's go over some of these beach regions and find out exactly what they offer you and whether or not it's good for you, your family, whoever you're going with.
That way, the next time you plan a trip, you know it'll be fun.
Yep. Okay, so in this video, we're going to discuss 6 distinct beach regions. We're not going to get into specific beaches because we can get into that later. But let's talk about these 6 regions. It's the Caribbean coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, the Gulf coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, the Mainland Gulf coast, the Northern Pacific coast, the Southern Pacific coast, and the Baja California Peninsula.
Guys, these are all totally different.
Totally different. It depends on if you really want to have a good time, pick the right one for you.
Yeah. So to keep things simple, we're going to talk about the same 8 talking points for each of the above mentioned beach regions. We're going to talk about the overall vibe. Now, this is going to be whether it's a party town, kid-friendly, or it has kind of a chill vibe. We're also going to be talking about who it's best for, whether this is digital nomads, young couples, expats, families, etc. We're going to be talking about the type of water. Now, this is going to be whether it's calm and good for swimming, or if it's good for surfing and other water activities. We're also going to be talking about activities, what you can do in each beach. We're also going to be talking about the best time to visit and why. We'll also cover some of the hidden concerns associated with each of these regions, because there are some.
Yeah, there are.
And we're going to be talking about accessibility of each of these regions, because some of them are quite hard to get to and others have international airports that you can fly right into.
And we're going to discuss the cost, but we're only going to discuss it compared to the rest of Mexico, right? Because
this is a Mexico video.
This is a Mexico video, and some beaches are considerably more expensive than others.
That's very true.
So let's get started.
Yeah.
All right, before we get started on these coastal regions, let's just talk about something that affects overall Mexico, and that's safety. We always hear, is Mexico safe? Is this beach town safe? Is this beach town safe? Mexico's safe.
For general, yes.
For general and for tourists, Mexico is safe. You're going to be fine no matter which one of these beach regions you go to.
Yep.
Like, there is petty crime, like whatever, pickpocketing and like stuff like that.
Like everywhere else in the world.
Everywhere else in the world. Go to Europe, it's going to be the same thing. So all of Mexico is safe, and all of these regions we're going to tell you about, we've lived on all of them. We've never had any problems.
And Mexico thrives on tourism, so you're fine.
You're fine. Okay, so let's start getting into these beach regions. Okay, the first region we're going to cover is the Caribbean coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. This is the most visited region.
And my favorite.
Yeah, it's a great region. But for Americans and Canadians, this is almost all they know about Mexico. It's a great area, but there is a lot more to do than just come to the Caribbean coast. So let's go over this area quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So the most popular areas in the Caribbean coast include Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, Cozumel, Puerto Morelos.
Yeah, and they're all very well-known areas and beaches. So you probably already know, but let's compare it to some of these other regions we're going to talk about.
Okay, so we're going to talk about these 8 talking points on the Caribbean coast to see if it's right for you.
Right. The first talking point is going to be the overall vibe. And if you've not been here before, the Yucatan, it's just tourists,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It is
very tourist heavy.
very tourist heavy. So you're going to get a lot of families, a lot of partiers, a lot of people that just want to go to the beach, hang out, and party. So the vibe is kind of all over the place with just families and partiers. It can be anywhere.
You can find a little bit of everything from laid back to upscale to party vibe.
Yeah, so the Caribbean coast pretty much has any vibe you're looking for.
Definitely. The Caribbean coast is probably best for non-Spanish speakers, resort tourists, because there are a lot of resorts.
Yep.
Good for first-time travelers
I would
to
say,
Mexico
yeah, for
because
sure.
there is a lot of English spoken.
Yep.
Families, digital nomads, Playa specifically would be really good for digital nomads.
Yeah, we lived there for quite years.
Yeah. Wellness seekers, Tulum, and while it's not a beach town, Bacalar is also known for wellness.
Well, the third talking point is the type of water, and anybody that's been to the Caribbean knows you're going to have beautiful, depending on the year or the time of year, beautiful, crystal clear, calm waters. There's no surfing, there's no wakeboarding, there's no kite sailing. It is just flat Caribbean water.
Great for swimming and snorkeling.
That's about it, yep.
Speaking of, our next talking point is basic activities you can do in the Caribbean coast.
Yeah, that'll be anything you can do in clear water. Snorkel, scuba, catamaran tours, lots of ruins to see, which are really cool.
Yeah,
a lot of
fun.
cenotes also. So if you don't want to get in the ocean, go to a cenote. But the activities are all over the place. You've got water parks, adventure parks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much anything, but you're not going to be surfing. You're not going to be doing anything that involves big waves.
Right.
So now the next talking point is cost compared to the rest of Mexico.
Yeah, the Caribbean coast, I would say, is expensive compared to it. It's probably one of the priciest regions in Mexico as far as beaches go.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say it's expensive, because if you're bringing US or Canadian dollars, it's considerably less expensive than the States.
Yeah, absolutely.
But compared to the rest of Mexico, it's pretty pricey. So if you're a budget traveler, maybe look somewhere else on this list.
Yeah. The best time to visit is probably going to be December to April. That's because it's dry season and
there's no
hurricanes at all.
Yeah. So the hot season, the summer months are unbearably hot. We live there during the summer. It's doable. You can, and it's less crowded.
Yeah, and it's less humid, I think, than some of the places we've been.
Yeah. Hidden concerns for the Caribbean coast of the Yucatan. Mostly hurricanes. If you're there in the summer, you're gonna get hit. We got hit with 2 hurricanes and a tropical storm in 2 weeks when we lived there.
Yeah, it was not fun.
Sargasso or sargassum, depending on who you talk to, in the summer is unbearable. It means basically that unless you're in a resort, you're not swimming in the water.
Yeah, we'll post the sargassum forecaster chart below as well.
Yeah. And another thing is overdevelopment. It's just really overdeveloped. I mean, it's a tourist area, so
yeah, for
that's
sure.
what happens.
Okay, so the last talking point for the Caribbean coast is accessibility. Now, the Caribbean coast is very accessible, and that's because of the Cancun International Airport. It's one of the busiest airports in Latin America, I believe, and there's direct flights from just about anywhere.
Yeah, so everything along that coast is accessible. Once you get to Cancun, you can even get a bus at the airport or anything you want to go up and down that coast. So it's very accessible. If you just want to jump off your plane and get to your resort, Yucatan coast.
Also, a quick note, Tulum does have an international airport now as well, so people are finding good flight deals from there.
Cool. Okay, the next beach region we want to cover is also on the Yucatan Peninsula, but it's the Gulf Coast, which is completely different than the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but it's so different.
It's so different. So the beaches you're going to find on the Gulf Coast of the Yucatan, you're going to find like Progreso, Sisal, Chelem, Chaberna. These are much lesser known cities for beaches. Okay,
so we're going to go over our 8 talking points here, and we're going to start with the overall vibe that you can find on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, so the overall vibe is much quieter than the Caribbean, and I mean like way quiet.
Yeah.
So it's going to be mostly local people from Merida that come down to vacate or spend the weekend, whatever, and it's full of expats.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
that's not exactly the party vibe. It's not touristy. It's just a lower key vibe.
It's more of retirees than partiers.
Yep. The second talking point for the Yucatan Gulf Coast is going to be who it's best for.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Budget travelers for sure, because the cost is considerably lower.
Snowbirds, definitely.
100%.
Expats, definitely retirees.
Yep.
Anyone avoiding major crowds and partying, definitely.
Definitely. You could choose this area. You can choose the Gulf Coast of the Yucatan over the Caribbean because it's quiet.
Yeah.
Considerably quiet.
If you'd rather go day drinking than enjoy a prominent nightlife, the Yucatan Gulf Coast is for you.
Yep. The types of water, it is not as pretty as the Caribbean.
It's not.
It's kind of murky. It's kind of shallow. I mean, it's swimmable, and there are nice beaches to lay on, but the water is not as impressive as the Caribbean.
Yeah, and it's not always safe for swimming either, so
That's
check
true.
that out.
Yeah.
So some basic activities that you can find on the Gulf Coast are flamingo tours, that's in Celestun.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, fishing, kayaking, any kind of outdoor activities like biking, stuff like that.
Yeah. Lots of also ruins. Tons of ruins in this
yeah.
area. So you can go to cenotes, Mexican ruins, lots of activities, but water sports may not be the best. Like snorkeling is certainly not that great.
Yeah. As far as cost, I think the Gulf Coast is pretty cheap in comparison to at least the Caribbean.
Right. Now, if you get somewhere like Progreso in the wintertime when all, like thousands of Canadian snowbirds are down, prices go up, but not even close to what the Caribbean is. So
I'd definitely say it's budget friendly.
Budget friendly, 100%. Best time to visit, same as the Caribbean. November through March, it's cool, it's dry. The summer is unbearable.
Summer is unbearably hot.
Yep, we've lived there. So if that's your jam, there.
Great. Now we're going to talk about a few hidden concerns, and my first one is going to be Progreso, because they get a lot of cruise ships and you have to plan around them.
You really do, because cruise ship people, I'm sorry, once they get into port, they lose their minds. So you will have to deal with a lot of cruise ship people. And the infrastructure in Chilem, Chaburna, some of these smaller towns.
Yeah, these are like tiny, tiny towns.
They're fun to live in and they're cool to be off grid and everything, but the Wi-Fi may not always be up. The electric might be out a couple of days. The water might be, the infrastructure.
Not great.
Not great.
You also need to know a little bit more Spanish in this area than you would in the Caribbean.
Absolutely. And the eighth talking point is accessibility.
Yeah.
It's not as accessible as the Caribbean coast, but you've got Merida, and that's inland, and that's where the international airport is.
Right.
And it's like an hour bus ride.
And it's a good airport to fly to. I just flew into there. It's real nice.
Super easy, super chill, and then you just take a bus right from the airport to the coast.
Yep.
Easy. Okay, the next beach region we're going to talk about is the mainland Gulf Coast. It connects from the Yucatan and then goes all the way up to the United States around to Texas.
Yeah.
Now, it is unlikely anybody's going to go here.
Yeah, we haven't even been here to this coast yet. Well, we plan to.
Yeah.
But this includes cities like Veracruz, Boca del Rio, Costa Esmeralda.
Yeah, these are very lesser known beaches and there are almost no tourists. Okay.
Let's talk about our 8 points for the mainland Gulf Coast.
Yeah, first of all, the overall vibe. It is not touristy, right? This is just local Mexicans enjoying the beach. Absolutely. There's almost no international tourism. If you're an adventure traveler and you want to get off the beaten path, this is for you. Otherwise, it's unlikely.
Yeah, most of the cities that they have are port cities and they're very urban.
Very congested and very industrial.
Yeah.
Who it's best for is probably cultural travelers, right?
People that like adventure as well.
Adventure travelers, off the beaten path travelers, food lovers because they have all that good seafood.
Oh my gosh. If you've ever had Veracruz style fish,
bomb. And budget travelers, because this is by far the cheapest beach region in all of Mexico.
Absolutely, it really is.
Very cheap.
The third talking point for this coast is the type of water. Now, this water is not going to be the prettiest. It's often brownish, kind of murky compared to like the Pacific or the Caribbean coast, wouldn't you say?
It is, it's swimmable and it's safe to swim in as opposed to some Pacific beaches, so you can get in the water, but it's just not what people are looking for that Instagram shot of the beach.
Yeah.
The basic activities for the Gulf Coast and the mainland Gulf Coast, lots of seafood eating.
Oh, yeah.
Lots.
That's
and
what I'd
lots.
be doing.
Yeah.
Exploring coastal towns. I believe there's a lot of riverboat tours as well.
Yeah, lots of historical sites too.
Yeah.
And there are some archaeological sites for the Olmecs and everything also. So that's
true.
really cool to check out.
Yeah, but just living like a local is going to be the main activity, I
Yeah,
think.
and that's always a good time. Yeah.
For the cost of this coast, it is very, very cheap. These are some of the most affordable beach towns you will find in Mexico.
100%. The absolute cheapest beach towns in Mexico.
Yeah, I've done some research and it's shocking how cheap it is.
Yeah. So the sixth talking point for this mainland Gulf Coast is going to be the best time to visit, which again is going to be November to March. This coast on the summer is sweltering, and that's one of the reasons we didn't go last summer.
Very humid and very rainy as well, which I imagine is got to be kind of buggy as well.
Yeah,
too.
it's going to be buggy too, and they still get hit by hurricanes. So hurricane season, watch out.
Yeah, skip summer.
Yeah.
So some hidden concerns with this area in particular are going to be the language. There's definitely going to be a language barrier if you do not speak Spanish.
Right, there is very little English spoken, not like Cancun or Playa.
No.
And the other thing is the infrastructure. If you're a digital nomad and you absolutely have to get your work in daily, it might be rough.
Yeah, they're not catering to tourists.
No, they're not catering to tourists. So the infrastructure is lacking compared to Playa or stuff like that.
Yeah, and the same goes for tourist comforts that you would find in some of the other towns.
Yeah, it's not there. All right, the last talking point for the mainland Gulf Coast is accessibility.
So the mainland Gulf Coast is not very accessible. There are a few international airports, but they're quite far away
From the beach.
Yeah, from the beach, and they're not super accessible either.
Right, there are some domestic airports closer to the beach, but unless you're already in Mexico, it doesn't matter for you.
So the next beach region we are going to be talking about is the Pacific Coast in the northern section, and this again is one of my favorite areas.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time here. You've probably heard of some of the beaches in this region. They're quite familiar. Puerto Vallarta, Sayulita, Bucerias, Manzanillo.
We're getting ready to head there.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go to Manzanillo. Mazatlan. So these are pretty familiar beach towns. So let's take a look.
So we're going to cover our 8 talking points for the northern Pacific Coast, and we have spent a lot of time in this region, and we're about to spend another 3 or 6 months house sitting here too.
Yeah. So let's talk about our 8 talking points. First of all, the vibe.
Totally
different than the rest of Mexico. This is pretty much Gringoville, the northern Pacific, right?
Yeah, super touristy, expat-y.
And Partyville too. So, I mean, there are some very quiet towns. It's a big region. There are some very quiet towns.
Yeah.
But Mazatlan, Manzanillo, Puerto Vallarta, very tourist heavy, very party townish. You know what I mean?
It's definitely more developed than you would find in some of our other regions.
Right, it's developed and there's a lot of tourism. All right, let's talk about this northern Pacific region and who it's going to be best for.
Yeah, it's going to be mostly best for expats, non-Spanish speakers, because there is a ton of English there.
A ton, yeah.
Retirees.
Snowbirds. There are some party areas like Puerto Vallarta, especially for the LGBT community. Puerto Vallarta is a great place to check out.
Yeah, it's really friendly.
Yeah. All right, so the third talking point for the Northern Pacific is going to be the type of water. This isn't going to be crystal clear like the Caribbean, but it's also not dangerous surf like Southern Pacific.
Yeah, you can find a little bit of everything there, from calm to rough.
Yeah, you can do surfing, you can swim. It's a great place if you have a group of people who are into different activities.
Yeah.
Right? There is some snorkeling, but not a lot of it because it's the Pacific coast.
So some basic activities in the northern Pacific coast include surfing, whale watching, boat tours, definitely nightlife.
Yeah.
Just walking up and down the Malacones. The Pacific Northern Coast has a lot of really cool Malacones that are recently updated.
Yeah, and a lot of deep sea fishing, because now you're in the Pacific where you got your tunas and marlins and swordfish and game fish. So big fishing area here
and
too.
Good seafood eating as well.
Good seafood eating.
So the next talking point for the Pacific Northern Coast is going to be cost. Now, the cost is going to be a little mid to high
Depending.
compared to some of the others on our regions on our list.
Yeah, the tourist areas, Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, Manzanillo, lots of snowbirds, lots of tourists. The prices go up.
Yeah, Puerto Vallarta, you're going to be paying $5 for a bottle of water.
Yeah, it can be really expensive depending on the city you go to, especially compared to the rest of Mexico.
Yeah. Best time to visit the Pacific Northern Coast is November to April. Now that's because this is the dry season, but it's also when most of the festivals happen and definitely when the whale watching is most prevalent.
Yeah, outside of that, during the summer, it's hot.
And humid.
And humid. We just lived through Mazatlan summer and it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, and we're getting ready to do it again. No?
Getting ready to do it again. But also something to think about is hurricane season. It's rare that they hit, but the last time we were living in
last year,
Vallarta?
No, Acapulco.
Acapulco, and we got hit with a Cat 5 direct hit. You don't want that.
No.
So think about that.
Speaking of hurricanes, we're going to talk about some hidden concerns in this region because hurricanes are definitely one of those. Another thing is overpricing in some of these areas, and it's kind of hard to travel from town to town within the region once you're there.
Right, you're pretty much going to one town, whereas the Gulf, the Caribbean coast, you can travel between. It's a little hard to get from town to town on this Pacific North region.
Yeah, it is.
So the accessibility, this is a very accessible part of Mexico.
Absolutely. A lot of Canadians and Americans drive down. There are tons of international flights. Direct flights as well.
Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, Manzanillo, they all have international airports. Almost every big, medium-sized town on this coast.
That's nice if you don't want to have to go through CDMX.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, the next coastal region we're going to talk about is the southern Pacific coast.
One of my favorites.
It is. It's one of our favorites. We live here quite a bit. It is really very different than the northern Pacific coast.
It definitely is.
Some of the well-known cities you might have heard of: Puerto Escondido, Huatulco, Mazunte, Zipolete. I mean, maybe you haven't heard of these. These are maybe just for people in Mexico.
Puerto Escondido literally means hidden.
Yeah. So you may have heard of some of these, but this is a region you might want to check out.
Definitely. So we're going to talk about our 8 points here for the southern Pacific coast of Mexico.
Right. So, I mean, again, there's many cities, so they're all a little different, but for the most part, the vibe is chill.
Super laid back, super relaxed, super authentically Mexican.
Right. Now, there are some areas that have a lot of tourists, but they're a lot different than the tourists that go to the Caribbean. These are
Mexican tourists.
Mexican tourists and international adventure seekers. So it's a totally different vibe. It's chill, off the beaten path travelers.
Definitely. So the southern Pacific coast region is going to be best for surfers, digital nomads, hippies, wellness travelers, basically adventure travelers as well.
Yeah, definitely, and that we kind of fall into this category. This is our jam down here.
We're somewhere in
Yeah, if you are into any kind of yoga or any kind of wellness, lots of room here for you.
If you're a foodie, this coast is for you.
If you are an expat or a snowbird, it's probably not. This is not the region.
Yeah, the infrastructure isn't great.
It just isn't there. The type of water you're going to find on the southern Pacific coast of Mexico is rough.
Yeah.
These are surfing beaches. Now, that being said,
there are a lot of bays.
There are a lot of bays. You can swim in Carrizillo, down by Escondido. There are some swimming areas, but for the most part,
it's surfing.
It's surfing, and it is rough waters, and there are a lot of red flagged beaches.
Definitely. Some basic activities, speaking of, is definitely going to be surfing. Yoga retreats again. There's a lot of turtle watching and turtle sanctuaries, eco tours, stuff like that, bioluminescence. Any kind of water activity like kite surfing or even skydiving they have a lot of.
And fishing, lots of deep sea fishing too. And we should also note, if that's your thing, it's the only nude beach in all of Mexico is on this coast.
There's only one, and we've been there.
Is it Zipolite?
I can't remember.
We'll put it in the video, but it took us by surprise.
Yeah, for sure.
The cost of this southern Pacific coast, way more affordable than the Northern Pacific, 100%.
This is where we go to vacation because it's so cheap.
It is. You can buy a whole shrimp dinner for $5. I mean,
Yeah.
this Southern Pacific coast is considerably more affordable than many of the other beach regions you might go to.
Especially in comparison to just a few hours north.
Yeah, it's much more expensive than northern Mexico. So,
Cheaper.
yeah, if you're a budget traveler, southern Mexican coast is for you.
Yeah, so the best time to visit the southern Pacific coast of Mexico is November to April.
It's mostly for the weather.
Yeah, it's mostly for the weather. It's drier.
Yeah, less rainy. The summer gets quite hot and quite rainy. Maybe they'll have some storms, like some good intense storms, but it's not hurricane area down there. So
Yeah, it's pretty safe.
you really don't have to worry about it. It's just the heat. If
Yeah.
you're okay with heat and humidity, check out the summer.
Yep.
Hidden concerns for this area. I don't know if it's a concern, but it's so rural and kind of the infrastructure in some of these areas really isn't there yet. I mean,
Yeah.
internet might go down, electric
They
might
don't
go
cater
down.
to tourists, so the infrastructure just isn't there.
It isn't there. But if you can go with the flow and if you're an adventure traveler, this
Yeah.
is the area for you.
And if you want to disconnect,
oh yeah,
do
100%.
it here for sure.
When we're overwhelmed with work and city life and everything, the Southern Pacific coast is where we go.
We don't even take our laptops
Nope.
sometimes.
Nope, we don't. Accessibility, it's a problem.
It's not accessible.
No, it's really not. Huatulco, I can never say that correctly, and Puerto Escondido, they have small little airports, and I believe
Yeah, but
Escondido,
they're national, aren't they?
I thought Escondido might have been international, but honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's a hard area to get to.
It's definitely hard to get to. And if you're traveling around Mexico, especially, it's hard to get to because most of the buses and stuff to get to these coastal towns are through mountains. And you'll want to take a seasick bag or a mountain sick bag.
It's a heck of a drive,
Yeah.
man. It really is. So if you can get to the area, I suggest getting to it.
Definitely. The last region we're going to be talking about is the Baja Peninsula, and this is on the Pacific coast as well. And it's not necessarily our favorite, but there are a lot of people that really love this region, and for a good reason.
Yeah, some of the beaches you'll probably heard of on the peninsula are Cabo San Lucas,
Yeah.
La Paz, San Jose de Cabo.
Yeah,
Lots of familiar, Todos Santos, I forgot.
yeah.
Lots of familiar areas. This area is not for us, but let's go ahead and cover it and see why.
Yeah.
All right, the talking points we want to cover for the Baja California coast are going to be the overall vibe firstly.
Yeah.
And it really depends on the town you go to.
Yeah, it's a mix of like upscale resorts, and there are some places with like small town local
Yeah,
charm.
we went to Ventana, which was kind of
Yeah.
charming and small,
Yeah.
but the bigger towns, upscale and expensive, the smaller towns, a little more local charm.
Yep.
This area is best for, depending, luxury travelers.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And if you don't speak Spanish, this is a really good area to go to.
Yeah, there's also a lot of good surfing there.
Yeah,
and
lots.
stuff for adventure seekers.
Yeah.
Retirees.
Lots of
and
retirees
expats.
from the States, yeah. And digital nomad, like, I don't know. I just don't think the infrastructure's there.
No, but there are a lot of really good spots for road trippers because
Yeah,
there are a lot of
definitely.
campgrounds as well.
Okay, so the third talking point is going to be the type of water. And again, it's a peninsula, so you've got the Pacific and the Sea of Cortez. So the type of water varies a lot.
Yeah.
On the Pacific, you're going to get rough surf, maybe not even swimmable, but very rough waters.
Yeah,
On
good
the
for
s-
surfing.
Yeah, very. On the Sea of Cortez, it's more tranquil, right? It's
Yeah.
almost Caribbean. There's some spots where it's crystal clear.
Yeah, it's not as good as the Caribbean.
No, but all right.
That's
So you've got the Pacific and the Sea of Cortez. So depending on if you want rough waters or still waters.
Yep.
The basic activities also depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, scuba diving, snorkeling, and this is mostly in the Sea of Cortez because it is
Yeah.
clearer and calmer. There's a ton of whale watching
Yeah.
on the Pacific side.
And on the Cortez.
Oh, is
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Definitely like kayaking, sport fishing. Inland, there's a ton of desert hikes that people love.
and lots of
doing.
golfing too. This is a big golfing
Yeah,
region
I
of
forgot. There's
Mexico.
tons of golf
So
courses.
that's not our jam, but if it's yours, this is the type of area you're going to look at.
So the cost of the Baja California coast is very expensive, very, very, very expensive. Probably the most expensive on our list.
I would say it is the most expensive, and the reason is it's so easy to drive from California right into in the USA, right into Mexico.
It's basically LA prices in Mexico.
It is. We were very taken aback when we spent the summer there in La Paz.
And it's primarily English spoken as well.
Yep. Best time to visit, same as any other coastal town, in the winter, November to April. Whale watching is best from December to April, so if that's when you're going, start your thing in December. The heat, I don't even know.
The summer is intensely hot. It is a desert, so it can get to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, like 43 Celsius by like 10 a.m.
Yeah, it's hot. It's brutally hot.
We had to walk our dogs by like 7 a.m. before the sun even came up.
Hidden concerns for the Baja California coast. I mean, first of all, if you're in a car, the drives are long and hot and monotonous, and if you break down, nobody's going to pass you.
They are picturesque.
They are picturesque. Hidden concern, again, like we discussed, the heat.
The heat
is
unbearable. A major concern,
The infrastructure, unless you're in like Cabo or La Paz, the infrastructure is not there.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
And it's the hidden concern, it's just over commercialized. It's over tourist. Even worse than the Caribbean coast.
If you're looking to save some money, that is definitely a concern that you should take into consideration.
And the last talking point for our last beach region is accessibility.
That was pretty easy to get to. There are a ton of international airports.
La Paz and Cabo.
Direct from Canada and the United States. Probably even Europe, I don't know.
And if you're a road tripper, the roads are fine. All the way down from the United States, you can get anywhere across.
Really good highways.
So accessibility it's pretty good.
Moderate, So those are our 6 beach regions and the talking points for each one. This should help you be able to find what vibe you're looking for on any coast you go to.
There's nothing worse than scheduling your vacation and having the area not meet your expectations. So if you want any more details on a specific beach or area, just leave a comment. We'd be glad to cover it.
And be sure to like, subscribe, and comment because it does help our channel and we post stuff like this all the time. So till next time.
Lates.